Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into this show tonight. I think we're going to have a great show. My energy is great. When my energy is great, that means I'm like upbeat and fun, and we're just going to go from there. So tonight's topic is very timely and it goes along. So I just dropped an article. You can find it either on my webpage, soulhealer.com, or on my Substack. And I'm at Dr. Rita Louise on Substack. And the article is called Hidden Danger, Exposing the True Cost of America's Chronic Disease Crisis. And I'm not going to talk about that in particular today, but there was something that happened just as I was getting ready to post it. And that was last week, and it was an announcement by Trump about working with drug companies to reduce some drug costs. Now, where it got interesting was that pretty much the only drug that got reduced in price were what are called GLP-1 receptor if I could read my antagonists. Yeah, receptor antagonists. And so you might be going, okay, so what's that? And so brand name wise, I think you've all heard of them. And we're talking about products like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. So all you have to do is watch a little bit of TV, and I'm sure you've seen a commercial for one of them with people dancing through the street because they're going to control their A1C and lose weight and do all this stuff. And the reality is a couple of them were designed for people that were diabetic to help them reduce their blood sugar levels. And what they found as a byproduct was that they help people lose weight. And so that's a whole other story. We're not going to get into that. And so what do these drugs do? And how do they affect us? So one of the things that they do, and I'm going to go over a brief list, but then I have a prepared statement that kind of goes into it in a little bit more depth. So one of the things that the drugs do is they help reduce your appetite. They help to slow down the stomach emptying. So if there's food in your stomach, you feel full. Think about the time you were hungry and you ate an apple, and then like 20 minutes later, you're ready to eat again. It's because an apple by itself just moves through the stomach right out. And so it makes it so that the stomach stays fuller and doesn't empty as quick. It helps control blood sugar, which we kind of talked about. But I'm going to read this statement because it explains it in a very different, a very different light, which is a little bit concerning. And then I have a lot of other concerns, but this is just one concerning event. Okay. So it says the drugs exert their influence in a coordinated attack on the body's metabolic control centers. In the brain, they activate GLP-1 receptors in the hypothalamus. So that's a gland that releases a hormone, which is the brain's hunger center. This significantly reduces the appetite and food cravings. It slows down the food reward. And so when you eat a cookie, you know how good that makes you feel? That's the food reward. So it slows down food reward pathways that make high calorie foods appealing, like those cookies. And the net result is that the users naturally consume 15 to 30% less calories without experiencing the typical feelings of deprivation associated with dieting. Now, to me, the deprivation associated with dieting is this is the way you've eaten, so you miss it. But there's also the part where If you eat a lot, you have a big stomach. And as you cut down the amount of food you eat, your stomach shrinks. But in that process, you get stomach rumblings and you feel hungry. Totally different story. And if that's something that you guys would like for me to talk about on a show about different dieting strategies, like more holistic dieting strategies, let me know. Okay, but simultaneously, back to the notes, the drug works on the stomach by dramatically slowing gastric emptying. They relax the stomach, slowing the rate at which foods move out. And this, all right, I read that. And then the blood sugar thing. Okay, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it. Okay, so it messes with your hormones. So anything that has to do with blood sugar has to do with insulin, and the production of insulin and how blood sugar works in your body. If you're talking about your hypothalamus releases hormones in your body. And so if you're taking a drug that either suppresses the production or accelerates the production, then over time, what that says to your body is, I don't have to do this anymore. I can take like a little vacation because she got this medication taking care of this job, and I can go on vacation. And so one concern to me is if you stop taking this medication, what kind of shape are those systems going to be in? Is your body still going to produce insulin correctly? Is your liver going to absorb the glucose, which is what it's supposed to be? What's going to happen to those systems over time? Okay, so that's one of my concerns. What they identify as side effects. Okay, so these are like on the label side effects are, there's minor ones like nausea and indigestion, not anything really bad. But then there are the bad ones that include gallstones, tachycardia, which is where your heart beats too much, thyroid cancer, pancreatitis, or kidney damage. I'm all about that. Okay. One of the other things they talk about is if you take this product, what you should expect as an ideal weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds of weight per week. So what that says is that, all right, I can't even do the math. It would be like, that's what, 8 pounds a month. So let's just say 10, let's say 10 pounds a month. So, over the course of a year, you could potentially, and I'm saying potentially, lose 100 pounds, potentially. Now, one of the things that they also say, and I'm challenging you to watch one of those commercials more closely, because they got the dancing people in the supermarket as they're going through the junk food area. And then somewhere very quietly, they have a little line that comes up, or it says, one done in combination with diet and lifestyle changes. Boom. And they move on. And this is where things start to get interesting. Because we're Americans, and this is what we do. We want the easy fix. We just want to inject ourselves with stuff, and then we get skinny and don't have to do anything. And so even though they sort of recommend diet and lifestyle changes, they don't really emphasize the importance of diet and lifestyle changes in relationship to their medication. And so one of the things that can happen is that if you are not dieting and exercising, you can lose. Okay, so when you take this medication, one of the things that it attacks is your muscle mass. Okay, so our muscles are what burn calories. Like fat doesn't burn calories, muscle burns calories. And so if you have a lot of muscle, you can burn calories more effectively. And what this does is it affects your muscle mass. And it does it in a very similar way to someone who has bariatric surgery, they get the sleeve put on, or if they have had a gastro something where basically they chop your stomach out or a big part of your stomach out and just leave you with a little pouch, which can greatly affect your muscle mass because you're just not getting in the calories anymore. So if you are not dieting and exercising, so dieting meaning eating a high protein diet, and exercising meaning exercising, there are a number of things that can happen. So one is if you are not, you won't lose as much weight as someone that is dieting and exercising. After about 9 to 12 months, if you're just taking the medication, you plateau. And then you have to, where if you are dieting and exercising, that time is like 18 to 24 months, and you have to increase the medication. And if you don't increase the medication, you start putting weight back on because you're not getting the full effect. And then I was talking about the muscle mass. So without resistance training, instead of losing 20 to 25% of muscle mass, which is already to me a huge amount, you'll end up losing 30 to 40% of muscle mass, which messes up your metabolic rate, which is not good at all. Not good at all, because now you'll eat something and you might as well just glue it to your thigh because you have nothing inside of you that is going to burn that food up, burn those calories up. Okay. So if you stop taking the medication, so let's say you do it, and let's say you reach your weight goal. Let's say you wanted to lose 50 pounds, or 75 pounds, and you take this medication for 6 months, a year, whatever. They recommend it for 2 years, they recommend it for 2 years, but then they say, well, but you might consider it like high blood pressure medication, that it's something that you're just going to take for the rest of your life. Yeah. Okay. But if you stop taking the medication, especially without any dietary or lifestyle changes, that the weight comes back, and they say that most of the weight will come back within a year of stopping the medication. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here was the line. Most experts now say these medications are for chronic therapy, like blood pressure pills. Stop taking them and the disease comes back. Yay. But there are, well, actually, and I skipped this part about Trump. So Trump made a deal with the manufacturer Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, who are the manufacturers of these drugs. And currently, it is well over $1,000 a month to buy these medications, like $1,300, $1,500 a month to get these medications. Insurance doesn't really cover it. You might have an insurance that covers it. And he negotiated a deal where if you went through his new web page thing, and I don't know if I have it on here or not. I do not have it on here. But his new Trump.pharmacy.whatever that's supposed to be dropping next year, that you can get these drugs for $350 a month. Or if you're on Medicare or Medicaid, it would be as low as $50 a month. All those SNAP people, you can get it and lose some weight. Anyway, but this is where it concerns me. So right now, they estimate that, 60% of the country is overweight. 60% overweight. And about, I got notes all over the place, and then if you saw my notes, because I scribble all over them to make other notes. But there's just a lot of people. There's a lot of people, like 20, that's the number. So currently there are 20 million people in the country that are taking this drug. And so of the 20 million people taking this drug, there have been, this is where I'm going, 250,000 250,000 adverse events reported that have been documented in what's called the FARS system, the Federal Adverse Reaction System, something like that. 250,000. Now, if I have a little bit of nausea, if I'm feeling like a little lightheaded, am I going to run to my doctor and have him report an adverse event? Probably not. So I am going to just make the assumption that if something is being reported to this system, that it must be a moderate to severe adverse event. 250,000 of them. And of that, so far, there have been 162 deaths related to that. Also, there have been 7,200 cases of gastroparesis. Okay, so gastroparesis is where, all right, think about this. Our stomach is designed to contract, and it does that in order to break up the foods in our stomach and aid digestion. And so some people that have indigestion issues, it's because their stomach doesn't contract enough to break up the foods appropriately. So one of the things that this drug can do, it can interfere with your body's ability to contract. And they say if you get off the medication in like 4 to 6 weeks, that ability will come back. There are others that are not so hopeful with that number, or it might come back to a certain extent, but it won't go back to where it was. So there's that. Oh, here it is. Approximately 20 million Americans. That's 6% of adults are actively taking this drug. And so that number, the 20 million Americans, doubled from 2024. And they feel like it doubled from 2024 because there was more access, because of the nonstop media coverage of this drug and how it was a wonder. But I had my buddy AI extrapolate those numbers out into the future. And so it estimated that in 2026, there would be 35 to 50 million people taking this drug. This is now at the new lower cost. And there would be 90 to 195,000 adverse events reported and 180 to 585 deaths. So by 2028, and I just went out a few years, there would be 75 to 120 million people on this product. There would be 200,000 to 480,000 adverse events reported and 400 to 1,400 deaths. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that is really crazy, and it doesn't really fix the problem. It doesn't fix the problem that we don't eat good, that we don't exercise, that we are more interested in taking a pill and shooting ourselves up with something versus having discipline and doing the things that we need in order to be healthy. And so this is just a Band-Aid, in my opinion, that is just going to make drug manufacturers a lot of money, and people are just going to ignore and write off these adverse events as, you know, the price of doing business. And it's expensive. Even $350 a month is a lot of money when you can sit there and stop buying potato chips, make homemade food, go and take a walk around the block. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to shift your internal clock that it seems silly to me to go and put yourself at risk for one of these things to lose some weight. You know, you probably are all going, yeah, but you're all skinny. You probably can eat anything you want. And I'm like, no. I only wish I spend a lot of time staying this way. And my boyfriend is always freaking trying to feed me. And periodically I have to pull a picture out of my sisters. Love them, bless their heart. But I pull the picture out of my sisters and I go, do you want me to look like that? Because if you want me to look like that, then keep feeding me. So It is possible. It is possible to get rid of the weight and keep it off. But it's more about making a commitment to yourself and a commitment to your health than it is about taking a pill, because it's only going to be there and it's only going to work as long as you take it. And if you're willing or interested in taking that medication to the day you die, God bless you. God bless you. Okay, so that was my thing tonight. I've been pretty hot on this topic. And actually, well, yeah, I've been pretty hot on this topic. I just am like, seriously, there are so many other drugs that would provide benefit to people than this. I mean, we do have a weight and obesity epidemic in the United States. And that's one of the things I talk about in that article that I just dropped, Hidden Dangers, Exposing the True Cost of America's Chronic Disease Crisis. And it really is a crisis, but part of the crisis is that our government is not providing education or information so that we can take care of ourselves. And, you know, big tech is following along. You know, they would rather give you a pill and give you a drug and have you lay on your sofa eating popcorn and watching TV all day than learning how to maintain your health. And that it just makes me fuming. Anyway, all right, I'm done. Anyway, so if you need help dieting, you know, learning strategies to maintain your health, to get your weight down, you know, and you don't want to take that medication, even though you maybe can afford it, reach out to me at soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com, and set up a time for a private consultation. This show is also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to become a medical intuitive counselor, or a certified energy medicine practitioner, all from the comfort of your home. And you can download my free 50-page, what did it do that for? There, my free 50-page guide, Jumpstart Your Intuition, to help you down the road to start learning how to tap into that mysterious energy that we all have. And so for anybody who is listening to this show in a repeat format or after the live show and you want to join in the fun, please go to my web or go to my YouTube channel, Just Energy Radio on YouTube, 7 p.m. Central every Thursday evening, and log in and get a free on-air psychic reading from me. And don't forget to go and like and subscribe to my different social media channels, YouTube, Substack, Twitter, and Rumble. I post on them quite a bit, especially Substack. And I would just love to be able to connect with you there. Okay? Go back. Okay, there I am. All right, so there's a lot of comments in the chat room, and we're going to get things started. And I'm going to go up to the top and say hi and do readings as I move along. And I'm just clearing these cards, ERRT Radio. I know that you're number one, but I haven't clicked on you yet. All righty. All right. And so ERRT Radio says, hi, Dr. Rita, happy Thursday. And might I add, you look amazing again. Thank you. May I have a reading number 3, please? And you sure can. How do these always end up on the bottom? And it's not like I don't mix these cards. I mean, I'm good that they're on the bottom. But... All right, ERRT Radio. And that's your card for today. I'm liking that one so far. So this is kind of interesting, ERT radio. I get the impression that there's somebody around you. I'm going to say around you, maybe not physically, but emotionally, that is like trying to push you around. And I feel like on one level it's bothering you, but on the other side, you're like going, well, but it's not spiritual for me to be upset about this. And I feel like you're trying to find higher ground, and you're trying to like figure out how to be open to the situation and navigate this challenging energy that you're facing. And I'm going to be not so nice and say, no, you don't. You don't have to sit there and put up with that energy, especially if it's coming from somewhere else. I really feel like it's kind of like interfering with your flow and interfering with your groove. And so you need to decide, is this something that I want to put up with? Or is it just impacting me in an unhealthy, negative, toxic way that I can't be happy inside because I'm dealing with this? Hope that makes sense. Let me know. Okay. And we have Unar. She said, good evening all. May I have a 2, Dr. Rita? You sure can. And seriously, guys, sign up for my Substack. It's also where I now send out notifications for the show. And so if you want to get a reminder the morning of the show, go there. Substack at Dr. Rita Louise. All right, Unar, that's your card for today. So, Unar, I'm not really understanding this, but sometimes when I start talking, things come up. So when I look at your energy, I just feel like there's this lump in the pit of your stomach that you're not liking, and it feels very uncomfortable. I mean, I know that that is bringing you down. And I hope you don't mind if I like kind of poke on your energy here, but I have to. It's driving me crazy. So I get the impression that there has been something that has happened that you have had to, and I'm going to air quote this, you have had to swallow, but you don't like it, but you have taken it in, and it seems and feels distasteful to you. I feel like you don't feel like you have a choice about it. And without digging super deep into this, I kind of feel like you don't really have a choice about it. But it doesn't mean that you're not liking that you're liking it. So, Unar, I am going to make the suggestion that you take this issue, you take this problem, and you move it from your gut and put it over there. Just visualize that you are just taking it out of you and putting it on a shelf, putting it in a chair, throwing it in the garbage can. I don't care what you do with it, but get it out of you. It's okay for you to look at it, and it's okay for you to communicate with it, but it's not okay for you to take it in and take it on like it's your responsibility. So move it over there, and then you'll be able to interact with it in a healthier, better, safer way. Okay? And literally, what I did just like that, that's as long as it really needs to take for you to do that. All right, let's see. Yvonne says hi. Then she says, I have a reading number 3, please. And you sure can, Yvonne. Okay, and that's your card for today. So Yvonne, I'm just sensing some frustration from you. I mean, what's coming up is like, well, I keep trying. You know, and the images in the card keep suggesting, okay, so I don't like read the card like this picture means this or this means this, but this kind of like addictive quality, like, well, I've done this before, but I'm just going to like go and do this again, you know, with the hope that I'm going to get a different outcome. You know, so I don't know if that's how it's kind of feeling to you, or if that's more the reality of the situation. It's a little hard for me to separate that out. What they're suggesting in this moment is, instead of going after, shift your energy and go back into a receptive place. Because I feel like your energy has shifted and you've moved more into the I'm going after this versus being in the place where you're allowing it to come to you. Take a breath, take a couple of days off, allow it to come to you. All righty. Hi, Burton Bros. So you're a new name here. So welcome to the show. I mean, I might know who you are, but I don't recognize that YouTube handle. So welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for asking for a number. And that's all perfect. And you're going to get a number 2 right now. All right. And that's your card for today. Okay, so this is kind of weird. I don't know who you are, so I'm just going to go with what I'm getting. So I get the impression, I mean, I'm kind of like looking past present, because where you are seems interesting. But I get the impression that you are in a little bit of a hiding mode right now, like you've kind of pulled your energy in, but it didn't feel normal or natural for you. So when I went back in time, what you were showing me was that you actually had some pretty big energy. And so, but I get the impression that, you know, you got your ego bruised, you kind of got a spanking, you know, something didn't turn out the way that you wanted it. And so now you're kind of a little on a pity potty. But I feel like you are recovering from something that happened like a month or 2 ago. And I want to just share with you that that will pass. But I feel like, you know, especially I keep getting this, it affected you on an ego level. And I feel like there's really a lot of learning for you in this situation. And the you that is coming from this withdrawal and this retreat will come out with less ego, will come out more humble on the other side. And so that really is a good thing, you know, but my feeling is, look for the lessons. What did you learn? You know, what can you do different next time? Okay. And it's Amy. Hi, Amy. And she says, hi, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. May I have a number 1 reading tonight, please? Thank you. You sure can, Amy. Okay. All right. And that's your card for today. I'm liking that one. So, Amy, you know, it's always interesting. You know, I love working with you guys because I get to see you like move and flow and spin and shift over time. I feel like something shifted, and I'm not necessarily feeling like, well, I mean, obviously partially inside of you, but more in your surrounding space, that you've kind of opened your energy up. I feel like your creativity is starting to flow again. I feel like you're starting to see more of a light at the end of the tunnel. I get the impression that you've taken on the like, well, I really don't give a shit attitude, and you're just going for it. But there's this very big creative piece in there that has been unleashed. And I feel like where you were being creative before, that it's almost like bumped up a level on that. So I don't know what it is, but I think it's very cool. So good. You know, I think it's been all that like listening and waiting and contemplating and allowing that has brought forth this new level of creation for you. So cool. And then Curtis says, hi, Rita, I'm doing well. Hope you are too. May I have a reading number 3? Thank you. You sure can, Curtis. And as always, if these readings make sense to you, I would love to get some feedback or comments, you know, how that is fitting into your life. And if you want, you can go to my webpage, Chris, I'm going to turn you off here a second, soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. And across the top, you'll see a tab that says Dr. Rita Live, and you can go and leave me a little something in the tip jar. I love you and appreciate you. Okay, remove that. Curtis back on the screen. All right, Curtis, let's see what you got going on. Well, that is very interesting. Very interesting. So even with me shuffling 3 times and just randomly cutting, you got the same card as Amy. So let's see what's going on for you. So like right off the top, you know, I want to say, oh, it's probably some kind of a joint venture, which would be very cool. Okay, so this is kind of like a tables turn kind of thing. So Curtis, I get the impression, I mean, I really do think that this is a joint thing, that a joint energy shift that's going on. But I feel like you are being more the voice of reason this time, where normally that would be Amy. But I feel like she's just on this creative move forward, and you're like, no, maybe, you know, but if we do that, what about this? And what about this? And I think that it's good, because I feel like it is like you guys have shifted places and are helping to educate and train each other in areas that I don't want to say that we're lacking, but you know, sometimes the universe cuts things off. Like, I'm a very visual person, and periodically the universe is like, yeah, you know, from a clairvoyant point of view, yeah, you're not going to get anything. We're not going to give you anything. And so you're going to work with clients, and you have to feel into all of the sessions, which, trust me, I've gotten a lot better, but it used to be like painful. You know, you're at a fair and you're supposed to like be working, and you're just struggling. So, but I feel like you're both getting the chance to use and practice skills that have not been there before, or aren't as toned as they could be. Great. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right. All right. Hi. There goes Don. Hey, Don. And he says, hi, Dr. Rita. Hope you're good. Can I get a number 3? You sure can, Don. Uh-oh, Don. There you go. Okay, so for anybody new, these cards are called mask cards, and they show up where there's an energy that you don't want to look to, or it's blocked, or you're in denial about. And I will pull cards until I feel the card clear. And I'm actually going to go with this one. So I'm going to go with this card right here, Dawn. And let's see. You know, Dawn, when I look at your energy today, I mean, because basically whenever I do these readings, I'm looking at where are you today? And I might go back or I might, look around, but it's really where am I in this moment? And I'm feeling like you have been experiencing this level of freedom, this level of, and I dare to say, contentment in your life. I feel like, the times and periods of bad brain have really been reduced. And then when you do find yourself in bad brain, it's for a very short period of time. And I don't know, I just feel like you were noticing it and kind of relishing in the like, oh, wow, this is like a new experience for me. And Dawn, it is a new experience for you, and enjoy every moment of it, because it's not necessarily going to go away. And then we have Lily. Hi, Lily. And she says, hi, Dr. Rita. Can I please get a reading number 2? You sure can. All right, Lily. God. All right. That same card came up for you too. You would think that I just had it laying over on the side. Okay, Lily. Okay, but I have a different read on this card for you, Lily. So I feel like your energy is feeling a little stuck for you right now. And I get the impression that you're not very good at, and I'm going to say playing, not going into kindergarten, not having things be easy. And so I would like to suggest that you need to go back to kindergarten, that you need to not take what you're doing so seriously and worry so much about the outcome, because it is making it so that you can't move forward, because it's almost like you're tiptoeing through every step, almost second, I don't want to say second guessing, but kind of second guessing yourself. And, if I do this, what's going to be the outcome? And if it doesn't feel like it's going to be a good outcome, then you're not really going to do it. Or you think, well, maybe I should be doing something else. I don't know. There's a lot of mental gymnastics going on. Versus going, well, I'm just going to do it, and it's either going to turn out good or it's going to turn out bad. I mean, it's kind of like I can't paint. I just am not. Give me some color pencils and I'm great, or pencil, but like painting, I don't know. And so, okay, I have way too much judgment on it. And maybe that's a good word for you, that there's too much judgment on it. So it keeps me from wanting to even try to paint, because I have so much judgment on it. But maybe find some activities that you don't have judgment on, so you can do those over here and get those wheels moving and have some activity happening, because maybe it will transition over into this other area in your life and get you moving forward again, having some fun playing. Okay, Lily? And as always, guys, if I say something to you during one of these sessions and you need to follow up, please do go by my website and schedule a private consultation. You would do that by going to soulhealer.com. Thanks. All right, let's see. All right, I lost Lily here. There you are. All right, so we have Bad Dog in here. Hi, Bad Dog. Curtis wants me to put the glasses on. Oh. All right. So Curtis says, I used to watch a doctor recommending fat people don't eat by fasting. And actually, Curtis, that to me is a great strategy. And I think for people just starting on the weight loss lifestyle modification road, I think it is very appropriate to do a 1 day fast. So you have Sunday dinner, and then on Monday, you just do liquids. And I don't have an issue. They could do the master cleanse, which is hot water, lemon juice, a little bit of honey or maple syrup, preferably maple syrup, and a little cayenne pepper, which will keep your blood sugar at a good level. But it gives the body a chance. It gives the stomach a chance to shrink. But if you want to do like a smoothie or a protein shake, especially early on in the weight loss process, to start working on the sides of the stomach, I would highly recommend doing a liquid fast 1 day a week. I did that for years, every Monday, liquid fast, and I don't know, it works. It really keeps the stomach in check. I have one friend who did the master cleanse. He did it for 40 days and lost like 50 pounds. So, but he was already well on his health thing. And it is not something that I would recommend to someone who really hasn't spent much time dieting and exercising or being aware of their body, that they just do that in the onset. But no, very good. Thank you, Curtis. Unar says, proud to say I've only have to take 2 pills, one every day and one as needed. I'm 69. That's great. I mean, I don't take any pills that are medically required to, like, blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, any of that. So I don't take any of that stuff. Lily says, great info, Doc. Thank you very much. ERRT Radio says, excellent topic again. And there's John. Hey, John, I talked to John this afternoon. It was a great conversation. I laughed a lot. Hey, John, thank you for saying hello. And ERT Radio says, I did sell my house in Minnesota and got a bigger house in Arizona. And the one person who was staying there part-time was not happy. So he went on his own. And I am in the big house on my own. But that's pretty cool, ERRT Radio. Okay, we have Ace Ace. Hi, Ace Ace. I think you were here last week. I don't remember, but welcome to the show. And yes, you can have a number 1. And thank you for getting here on time in case you're one of the people that I didn't get to last week. Oops, number 1. Okay, you're really going to get a 2 because I did 1 and then I needed to do another one. Okay, Ace Ace, that's your card for today. So Ace Ace, I just get the impression that you have been, and I'm going to say, working on being more mindful about yourself. I feel like one of the things that you want to have in life in this moment is peace and calmness. I feel like you have been making an effort to kind of turn in to yourself so that you can find that place, that place of stillness. I feel like the world around you tends to be too irritating and too agitating. And I feel like being and existing in that calm, quiet place makes you feel better. I think everybody feels better when they can find and be in that place. So good job for spending your energy in turning in to find that and be there. Okay. Unar says, wonderful read. Thanks for the advice. Will do. Thank you, Unar. And Marco's here. Hey, Marco. And there's O'Horace. She says, blessing, you look fantastic and beautiful. 3, please. And you sure can, O'Hora. Okay. All right. That's your card for today. Okay. Interesting. So I get the impression that there are, I'm going to say things, that's really not a very good way of expressing that. Situations going on in your life right now that there's some uncertainty about how you should handle them. And this is not coming out very good. Said in a different way or from a different angle, I feel like you've kind of pulled your energy in and that you're in observer mode right now. And you're kind of looking at situations and looking at dynamics and trying to decide how you want to interact, how you want to approach it, them, whatever. That is kind of like for everybody's highest good. I feel like you've been kind of playing around with different strategies and different tactics to see which one works best, which one feels best, which one gives you, the best response. Now, whether you are physically doing this with other people or if you're just kind of like game boarding it out in my head, like, well, if I do this, how would they respond? Which I'm okay with that too. But I feel like the biggest thing is that you've gone inside and you're kind of playing around with this dynamic so that you can come from a more solid place when you take this new piece of you and put it on the outside. And that's the more important part, because, sometimes we have to play around with stuff till we figure out, okay, well, this is the thing, and this is going to be my position and this is going to be my boundary. And I feel like that's what you're doing right now. So cool. Cool. Okay. Amy says, thank you, Dr. Rita. I have noticed that creativity is increasing and the help and opinions from Curtis are very appreciated. It's quite balanced. Heads up to the tip jar. Amy, I love you. I love you and the two of you, but Curtis is kind of being a little bossy these days. So Dawn says, yes, thank you. You're right on again. And thank you, Dawn. And then Lily says, so true. Felt a weighted blanket come off when you shared that. Thank you, Lily. Thank you. Okay. And then Lily says, wow, yes, I love how you put that. I resonate. Thank you. You're so welcome. All right. Gary's here. Hey, Gary. Okay. So I cannot pronounce your name. Okay. So, all right. There's a couple of minutes left and there's not a whole bunch of people in front of you. I only do readings by you giving me a number between 1 and 3, and that's how many times I will shuffle the cards. If you would like to ask a specific question about a person, then you need to schedule a private consultation with me, and you can do that by going to my webpage, which is soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com, and setting up a time for a private consultation. Okay. All right, where'd she go? Okay, I lost it. All right, so there. Okay, so again, there's a couple of minutes left because I quit at 8 that you can get a reading. Okay, Curtis says, I think people have to break the habit of chronically overheating. I mean, and it is a habit. It really is a habit. It's an addiction. I mean, for some people, it's an addiction, and sometimes it's a sugar addiction that they need to deal with. You know, they might have a lot of candida in their body, and candida just wants you to feed it. It just wants sugar. It just wants carbohydrates. It just wants alcohol. And so that is part of it. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that go into somebody's weight and somebody's behavior. And just taking a shot isn't going to fix any of that. All right, Gary would like a reading number 2, and you sure can, Gary. All right, Gary, what do you got going for today? Interesting. Okay, that's your card. So, Gary, I get the impression that I'm going to say there's been a situation, might have been multiple situations, but I'm just going to say a situation that has caused you to kind of stop and make the decision that you need to move forward. You need to step up. I feel like the word evolution keeps coming up for me with regard to you, so whether that is like an internal evolution or that you're in the process of like learning something new, I hate saying going back to school, but, bringing in some kind of education. But I feel like even the education is because it's something that you want to bring into you. And so this evolution is really you feeding you what you want. And so I feel like it's good, and don't be scared of it. And there's not anything saying that just because I go on this road that it means I have to finish it. Sometimes we can just go and play and explore and have that be okay. So have that be okay, but don't let getting to the end be the limiter from you starting in the first place. Okay, let's see. All right, Jasmine. And actually, Jasmine, it is late, so I'm going to have to say you need to come back earlier next week in order to get a reading, because it's time for me to go. I just am going to go through these comments really quick. Ace says, I appreciate you remember me, Dr. Rita, and tracking my journey from then, so validating what you said. Thank you, Ace. And then Ohora says, sorry, I was late. I forgot to say hello. Thank you very much. You are absolutely correct on reading. Cheers to you. You are so welcome, Ohora. All right, so guys, it's late. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. So anyway, so if I didn't get to you, please get here a little earlier next time so you can get into the queue earlier. If you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, go to my webpage. That's soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. And I would love to set up a time for a private consultation with you. So until next time, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Be blessed.